Lily's fingers barely twitched, but to Valor, it was the loudest cry in the room. His ears shot up, his body stiffened. A low, rumbling growl vibrated in his chest, the kind only a trained handler would ever understand. The judge paused mid-sentence, slowly lowering her glasses, as the entire courtroom shifted their attention toward the dog known for absolute discipline. Valor never acted without command, never. But Lily wasn't a stranger to him. He had visited her school weeks earlier for a safety demonstration. While other children giggled and reached to pet him, she had simply sat quietly, with bruises hidden under her sleeves. Valor had walked straight to her, pressing his head against her knee, refusing to leave her side. His handler had said it was unusual, but dogs sense things people missed, and today, the dog sensed something again. The defendant, Marcus Hale, a towering man with crooked teeth and a temper engraved into every line of his face, shifted uncomfortably as Valor rose from the floor, slow, purposeful, eyes locked on Lily. No one else understood the signal she had made, not even her mother. But Valor remembered. Lily had learned the gesture during that school visit, a discreet sign Valor had been trained to recognize as "I'm scared, I'm unsafe, help me." The officer had shown it to them like a fun trick, never imagining a child might use it in real life. Now the dog's muscles coiled tight, his paws sliding silently across the floor like a shadow preparing to strike. The bailiff reached out nervously, whispering, "Valor, no, stay." But Valor didn't stay. In one explosive motion, he lunged not at Lily, but toward the man on the witness stand behind her. Gasps broke out across the room. Papers fluttered. The stenographer's fingers froze mid-air. Marcus Hale jerked backward, chair scraping loudly as Valor snarled, teeth flashing, not biting, but warning, protecting. Judge Hawthorne slammed her gavel, voice sharp, "Order." Everyone remained still, but Valor didn't need the room to freeze. He needed the truth to surface. Lily covered her ears, trembling as her mother wrapped an arm around her. She wasn't crying, not yet. Instead, she stared at Marcus with a look too heavy for a child to carry, a look of someone holding a terrible secret. The prosecutor shouted, "Bailiff, restrain the dog." But the bailiff didn't move. His eyes were locked on Marcus, and on the small object that had just tumbled from Marcus's pocket as he scrambled backward. A silver pocket knife. It clattered across the floor, catching the sunlight as it spun. For a moment, no one spoke, no one breathed. The judge's voice dropped to a cold whisper. "Sir, why do you have a concealed weapon in my courtroom?" Marcus stuttered. It's nothing, just a tool I work construction." But Valor growled again, louder this time, deeper, protective. Lily's mother gasped as she pulled her daughter closer. "You told me he didn't have access to her anymore." Marcus snapped. "I told you I didn't do anything." But Lily's small voice, thin, shaking, cut through the chaos. "Mom, he told me not to say anything." Every head in the courtroom turned. Marcus stepped forward, desperate. "That's a lie. I've never touched." But his words died when Lily raised her trembling hand again. The same small gesture, the same hidden sign for help. Valor barked sharp, commanding as if confirming her truth to the world. The judge stood up. "Everyone stop. This proceeding is halted immediately." She pointed to the officer nearest Marcus. "Take him into custody." Marcus exploded in anger, but before he could move, Valor positioned himself between Lily and the man who had haunted her. His body was a living shield, every muscle braced, eyes locked with unwavering loyalty. The courtroom was no longer just a place of law. It had become a battlefield of truth and fear, and one brave child had silently summoned her guardian. As officers cuffed Marcus, Lily clutched Valor's fur, whispering something into his ear, something no one else could hear. But the dog's tail gave one tiny, reassuring wag. Just enough for her to breathe again. Right as the judge reopened her mouth to speak, something even darker surfaced, something that would unravel the entire room. The moment the officers dragged Marcus toward the side door, Lily's mother felt her knees wobble. She held Lily so tightly, the child let out a soft gasp, but she didn't complain. She needed the closeness just as much. Valor stayed pressed against Lily's legs, ears sharp, gaze following every movement in the room as if danger still lurked between the courtroom walls. Judge Hawthorne raised both hands, demanding order even though her voice trembled. This court will not proceed until we understand exactly what just happened. Everyone sit. Now. The benches creaked as anxious bodies settled. Some people still stared at the fallen pocket knife on the floor, others at Lily, whose small shoulders shook with silent fear. Her mother knelt beside her, whispering apologies for things she didn't yet know. Apologies for things she feared were true. Valor pressed his nose gently into Lily's palm, grounding her. The prosecutor approached the judge's bench, lowering her voice, but not enough to hide the urgency. Your Honor, the child signal. It wasn't random. That dog reacted like he'd been trained for a crisis. Hawthorne nodded gravely. I noticed. Then her eyes shifted to Lily, softening. Sweetheart, is everything all right? You're safe here. Lily didn't speak. She just looked at the knife again, then at the same door where Marcus had disappeared. Her lips parted but no words came out. A detective entered the room moments later, holding a sealed folder. Your Honor, we found something you need to see. He walked briskly toward the bench, but before he could hand it over, Valor growled low, cautious, making the detective pause mid-step. It's okay, boy, he whispered, lifting his hands in surrender. I'm here to help. Valor eased down, but didn't remove his stare. Judge Hawthorne opened the folder and froze. Photos, reports, statements. Lily's mother had never been told about. Lily's mother swallowed hard. What is that? The judge closed the file, exhaling slowly. Mrs. Carter, the man we just escorted out, he's not just involved in this custody dispute. There are other accusations, and several investigators were monitoring him closely. The mother's hand flew to her mouth. You mean someone knew he was dangerous and still allowed him to be near my daughter? Before the judge could respond, Lily finally whispered something so fragile it cut the silence. He said he'd hurt Valor. If I told, her mother's breath shattered. Oh God, Lily? Valor leaned his full weight against the child's legs as if to say, I'm here now. No one touches you. Judge Hawthorne straightened. This child will not remain in this environment another minute. I'm calling recess. Officers, escort them to my chambers. But just as the courtroom began to move again, a woman in the back stood up abruptly. A woman Lily recognized. Her aunt. Her mother stiffened. What are you doing here? The aunt clutched her purse, eyes panicked. Please, I just want to understand. Marcus told me you were lying. He said you were poisoning Lily against him. Lily shrank behind Valor's side, shaking. The aunt's voice cracked. Lily, sweetie, tell me the truth. Did someone tell you to make that signal? The entire room froze. Even the judge stared. Lily didn't answer. She just pressed her face into Valor's fur, fingers gripping tightly, too tightly for a child trying to hide instead of speak. Valor lifted his head and stared at the aunt, with a level of suspicion only a trained police dog could hold. Something in that woman's expression wasn't confusion. It was fear. Deep, bitter fear. The judge's eyebrows pinched together. Ma'am, I don't know why you're questioning a traumatized child, but Valor suddenly barked once. Sharp, decisive. The aunt jumped as though struck. The bailiff instinctively stepped closer. Judge, maybe we should escort everyone out. But the judge didn't move. She was analyzing the aunt the same way Valor was, quietly, with unease that climbed the back of her spine. Then the judge lifted her hand. Mrs. Carter, take your daughter to my chambers with the K9. Officers, accompany them. I want everyone else to stay exactly where they are. Lily held Valor's collar and began walking out with her mother. Her steps were small, hesitant, every footfall echoing through the silent courtroom. Just as she reached the door, she whispered, Mom, she knows something too. Her mother froze. Who, baby? Lily's eyes lifted terrified toward her aunt. Valor growled again. The judge's expression hardened instantly. She turned to the nearest officer. Detain that woman. The aunt's face crumbled. No, please, you don't understand. But it was too late. The courtroom erupted once more. But this time Lily didn't look back. Valor pushed gently against her, guiding her towards safety as the door closed behind them. Inside the judge's private chambers, Warmth replaced the cold marble of the courtroom. Soft yellow lamps, a heavy rug, framed photos, everything felt different here. Kinder. Lily's mother sank into a chair, shaking violently. You're safe now. Sweetheart, you're safe. But Lily didn't relax. She stared at Valor. Then whispered, Mom, there's more I didn't tell you. And her voice trembled with a truth that might break everything open. Valor lay beside Lily in the judge's private chambers, his steady breathing the only sound cutting through the heavy silence. Lily sat on the far edge of the couch, small hands clasped so tightly her knuckles had turned pale. Her mother knelt in front of her, brushing strands of hair from her trembling face. Sweetheart, what didn't you tell me? Her mother asked gently. Lily's v. Marcus, Lily whispered, staring at the floor. He didn't come to our house by himself. Someone else drove him. Someone who told him what to do. Valor lifted his head, ears pricking as if he understood the weight of her words. The judge leaned closer, her voice calm, warm, never pushing. Lily, this is important. Can you tell us who was with him? But Lily didn't answer. She stared toward the door, toward the courtroom, toward the memory of her aunt's trembling face. Her mother followed her gaze, and her blood ran cold. No, Lily, your aunt wouldn't, she couldn't. But Lily's whisper cut her off. She was the one who told him I'd be alone that night. Her mother's hand flew to her mouth as she recoiled in horror. She told him. Lily nodded, tears finally welling. She said, we needed to fix the family problems so things could go back to normal. But he scared me. Mom, he grabbed my wrist and told me I had to stop telling people things. Her mother's heart shattered into pieces she didn't know how to pick up. Oh baby, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Valor pressed his head into Lily's lap, grounding her. She buried her face in his fur, muffling a small sob against his warm neck. A knock interrupted the moment. Judge Hawthorne stood first. Come in, a detective entered cautiously, holding a new sheet of paper. Your Honor, we just found something on the aunt's phone. He handed it over. The judge's expression hardened. It was a message thread. From the aunt to Marcus. She'd be alone after 5. Come then. Don't mess this up again. The girl talks too much. Handle it. Lily's mother staggered into a chair, hand gripping the edge of the desk for balance. Oh my God. She set us up. My own sister. The judge exhaled sharply, the weight of injustice settling over her in a suffocating wave. This is no longer a custody case. This is criminal conspiracy involving a child. The detective nodded. We're preparing charges now. The aunt is refusing to speak until her lawyer arrives. As he turned to leave, Valor suddenly stood, nose pointed toward the door, tail stiff. A warning. The judge frowned. What is it, boy? But the answer came seconds later. An officer rushed in, breathless. Your Honor, there's someone else involved. The aunt keeps shouting that he's coming to fix everything. We think she means Marcus's brother. Lily's mother paled. He's worse than Marcus. Much worse. The officer nodded grimly. We believe he's already in the building. Valor barked once. Sharp and immediate. A danger is close. The judge moved quickly. Get this child to the secured hallway. Now, two officers stepped forward to guide Lily and her mother. But before they reached the door, the handle twitched. Everyone froze. Valor growled, shoulders rising like a storm behind his eyes. The door creaked open and a tall man stepped inside, dark hoodie, shaking hands, eyes wild with desperation. Marcus's brother. He looked at Lily with a rage that made her shrink instantly behind Valor's side. You ruined everything. He barked. You think you can just lie about us and walk away? The officers lunged, but the man pulled something from his pocket, a metal rod. Not quite a weapon, but more than enough to hurt a child. Lily screamed. Valor launched forward with a snarl that erupted through the room like thunder, his paws hitting the floor as he sprinted toward the man. Chairs toppled. Papers flew. The judge shouted for backup. The man swung the metal rod, missing Valor by inches, but Valor didn't miss. He slammed into the man's chest, knocking him backward into the bookshelf with a violent thud. The rod clattered to the floor. Officers rushed in, pinning the man down while Valor stood over Lily protectively, chest heaving, teeth bared. Lily clung to her mother, crying but safe. The judge pressed a hand to her heart. Enough. This ends now. Take him away. As the last of the chaos cleared, Lily looked at Valor, her silent savior, her shield, her voice when she was too scared to use her own. And for the first time since entering the courtroom, she whispered something with a fragile bravery. Thank you. I knew you'd come. Valor nudged her hand gently, as if saying, I always will. But the judge wasn't done. She knelt before Lily, her voice soft but firm. Sweetheart, was there anyone else involved? Lily hesitated. Then she whispered, there's a place. He took me there once. I can show you. And the room fell silent once more. The temperature in the judge's chambers seemed to shift the moment Lily whispered those words. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The judge straightened, her expression tightening with concern. Lily's mother reached for her daughter's shaking hands, but Lily wasn't looking at her. She was staring at the carpet, as glassy, as though pictures from her memory played across the floor like shadows. Judge Hawthorne moved closer, lowering herself to Lily's height. Sweetheart, this place you mentioned, is it somewhere dangerous? Lily bit her lip until it trembled. It's a house, but not really a house. It's near the old railroad. Marcus took me there once when my mom was at work. Her mother stiffened. What? He took you where? Lily, why didn't you tell me? The girl's voice was a fragile whisper. Because he said he'd take Valor away. And I thought he would. Valor pressed his head firmly against Lily's knee. Sensing the shift in her breathing, she buried her fingers in his fur, grounding herself. The detective stepped forward, flipping open the notepad. Lily, can you remember anything else? What did the place look like? Lily closed her eyes, forehead creasing as she tried to recall. It was white, but old. The windows had boards on them, and inside it smelled like oil and dust. And there was a man there with a tattoo on his neck. The detective scribbled rapidly. Lily added, voice quivering, and he told Marcus, bring her in the back. She needs to learn. Her mother's body crumpled. Oh God, oh God. The judge placed a steadying hand on the mother's shoulder. She's safe now. We're going to stop anyone who tried to hurt her. Another officer approached, speaking quietly. Your Honor, we need to put this child in protective custody immediately. Her testimony may expose a wider group. The judge nodded, then turned back to Lily. Lily, sweetheart, would you be willing to show us where that place is? You won't be alone. Valor will go with you. Valor barked softly, a gentle vow. Lily hesitated, gaze flicking between her mother and the dog. Only if Valor stays close. He won't leave your side. The judge promised. The decision seemed to settle the air in the room. Moments later, officers escorted Lily, her mother, the judge, and Valor through a private hallway toward the underground parking area. Every step echoed with caution. Every shadow felt heavier than the last. Lily held Valor's collar with one hand and her mother's trembling fingers with the other. Even in the dim fluorescent light, her small face looked older than it should, etched with memories no child should carry. As they reached the SUV waiting below, Lily paused. Valor, she whispered. The dog turned his head, nudging her knee. She bent toward him and whispered something no one else could hear. His tail thumped once against the floor. The judge gave a gentle nod to the detective. Let's move. They climbed into the vehicle, officers securing the perimeter around them. Two patrol cars led the way. Another followed behind. Sirens remained silent. This was quiet, controlled, and urgent. The streets outside were washed in late afternoon light, turning the city into long golden blue streaks as they drove. Lily kept her head against Valor's side, letting his heartbeat calm hers. Her mother looked out the window, voice cracking. I trusted my own family, and they betrayed us. The judge, seated in the front passenger seat, spoke softly. Sometimes the people closest to us can hide the darkest secrets. What matters now is getting your daughter to safety. Lily swallowed, whispering, it wasn't just Marcus. The man with the tattoo? He told Marcus he owed him, that he had to deliver me. It scared me. The detective tightened his grip on the steering wheel. We'll find him. The SUV pulled off the main road, turning onto an older, cracked street lined with dead grass and sagging fences. The houses here were quiet to quiet, as though they held their breath when the police approached. "Lily," the detective said gently, "do you see anything familiar?" She peeked out the window, her small fingers curling around Valor's fur like an anchor. "There," she whispered, pointing. "That one. The white one with the boarded windows." The judge exhaled sharply. "Officers, secure the area." Patrol cars moved in. A swarm of uniformed officers stepped out carefully, weapons lowered but ready. Lily's mother pulled her closer. "You don't need to look, baby." But Lily did look, and she whispered, "That's where he said he'd take me again. If I didn't listen." Valor stood abruptly, nose at the window, posture alert. He knew danger was close. The detective glanced back. "Keep her in the vehicle. We'll check inside." But the moment he stepped out, the front door of the old house creaked open. A man with a thick beard and a tattoo crawling up his neck stepped out slowly, eyes narrowing at the sight of police. Lily whimpered, "That's him." Valor's growl vibrated the entire SUV. The judge whispered, "Everything is going to be okay." But the man on the porch, he smiled, a slow, chilling smile that meant he wasn't afraid of anything waiting for him, and Lily's voice, barely audible, trembled out the warning. He told Marcus. He wasn't done with me yet. The detective signaled for backup. The trap was about to unfold. The man with the tattoo stepped fully onto the porch, the rotting wooden boards groaning beneath his boots. His hands raised slowly, palms outward, but there was nothing calm or surrendered about him. His eyes flicked from the flashing police lights to the SUV where Lily hid behind Valor's broad body. He saw her, and Lily felt it. Valor's growl deepened, chest expanding, his body leaning forward as if ready to break through the door at the slightest threat. The detective shouted, "Sir, step down from the porch and keep your hands where I can see them." But the tattooed man, his name carved into Lily's memory as Derek only tilted his head in a slow, unsettling motion. "You brought her back," he said, voice rough and gravelly. "Didn't think you'd have the guts." The judge stiffened in the front seat of the SUV. "Officers, detain him." Now, 3 officers moved cautiously toward the porch. Derek didn't back away. He simply began walking down the steps with the strange calm of a man who believed he was untouchable. "You think you can stop this?" he muttered. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." Lily's mother held her daughter's shoulders tightly, pulling her closer. "Don't look at him, sweetheart." But Lily couldn't help it. Her eyes found his, and that was when Derek smiled wide, wicked, amused. Valor barked, loud enough to shake Lily out of her trance. The officers reached Derek just as he took his final step off the porch. "Hands behind your back," one ordered. He didn't resist, not at first. He let them grab his wrists. He even chuckled under his breath. Then, as one officer reached for cuffs, Derek twisted fast, faster than any of them expected. He slammed his shoulder into one officer's chest, sending him stumbling back. He grabbed another officer's vest, using it to pivot, kicking the third square in the knee. Chaos erupted. "Down! Get down!" Officers shouted as Derek tore free, sprinting toward the far side of the yard. But he wasn't running away. He was angling straight toward the SUV, straight toward Lily. The detective saw it first. "Move, he's coming for the vehicle." He yanked open the passenger door and stepped out, gun drawn, but aimed only to stop, never to kill unless absolutely forced. "Derek, stop right there." Derek didn't stop. He lifted a shard of metal where had he picked it up, and pointed it toward the SUV as he ran. Lily screamed. Her mother shielded her. Valor launched himself against the door with a furious bark, rattling the entire vehicle. "Get him down." The judge shouted. To officers tackled Derek from the side just feet before he reached the SUV. They slammed into the cracked dirt, rolling, wrestling, shouting. The metal shard skittered away. Valor barked wildly, pacing inside the vehicle, teeth bared, ready to defend. It took 5 officers to pin Derek's arms behind him and slam the cuffs on. Even then, he kept laughing. The judge stepped out cautiously, maintaining a safe distance. "What did you want with the child?" she demanded. Derek's eyes found Lily again through the SUV window, and they glinted with something dark. "She's the one who knows," he said. She saw what she wasn't supposed to see. Lily's breath caught. Her mother turned to her sharply. "Sweetheart, what does he mean?" Lily's hands trembled violently. She pressed her face into Valor's neck. I didn't mean to see, but I did." Her voice broke completely. The judge crouched by the open door, speaking gently but firmly. "Lily, honey, you're safe now. Whatever you saw, we can help you. You're not alone." Tears slid down Lily's cheeks, dripping onto Valor's fur. Then she whispered words that made every adult freeze. "He hurt someone in that house, and he said if I told anyone, I would go missing too." The judge drew a sharp breath. The detectives exchanged horrified looks. Valor pushed closer to Lily, his entire body wrapping around her legs like a living shield. Officers dragged Derek toward the patrol car, but even restrained, he sneered. "She shouldn't have been there. That accident was never meant for her eyes. Get him out of here." The detective barked. The patrol car doors slammed shut, muffling Derek's voice. Silence sank over the scene, heavy, suffocating. Lily leaned into her mother with a quiet sob. Valor nuzzled her. His soft whine sang everything words couldn't. The judge placed a steady hand on Lily's shoulder. "Sweetheart, thank you for telling us. You're brave, braver than anyone in this room." And Lily, a trembling girl who had been silent too long, nodded slightly, her tears falling freely now, for the first time. She wasn't afraid to let someone see her cry. The sirens faded into the distance as officers transported Derek away. But the tension he left behind clung to the air like a storm that hadn't finished breaking. Lily sat in the SUV's back seat, knees pulled up, Valor curled protectively around her legs, his warm weight a steady anchor in a world that had shaken too hard. Her mother sat beside her, one hand on Lily's back, the other trembling uncontrollably in her lap. The judge stayed outside the vehicle for a long moment, speaking quietly with the detectives before finally opening the rear door and stepping inside. "Lily," she said gently, "you've been incredibly brave, but I need to ask you one more question. Not about Marcus, not about Derek, about what you saw inside that house." Lily's breath caught. Her fingers tightened inside Valor's thick fur. The dog pressed closer, sensing her fear before she spoke a word. Her mother whispered, voice cracking, "Baby, you don't have to say anything you're not ready to." But Lily shook her head slowly. "I have to tell, because no one else can." The judge leaned in, her presence warm and steady. "Whenever you're ready." Lily lifted her eyes, small, red, terrified, and stared out at the old white house across the street. Its boarded windows looked like eyes, hollow and watching. "The man with the tattoo? He hurt someone in there." "A boy." The judge froze. "A boy." Lily nodded, swallowing hard. "He was small, maybe my age. He was lying on the floor, and he wasn't moving. I thought he was sleeping, but then Derek said he wouldn't wake up again." Her mother covered her mouth, a broken sound escaping through her fingers. "No, Lily." The detective at the driver's seat stiffened. "We need to check the house. Immediately." Lily's voice dropped softer, trembling with guilt she never deserved to carry. "He told Marcus I saw too much. That's why Marcus got so angry. He said I was next if I talked." Valor gave a low whine and rested his head on Lily's knee, softening the terror clawing at her heart. The judge exhaled shakily. "Lily, sweetheart, you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't hurt that boy." But Lily's tiny shoulders curled inward. "I left him there." Her mother pulled her into a tight embrace, tears soaking Lily's hair. "You were scared. You were a child. You did everything you could to survive." The detective spoke into his radio, voice clipped and urgent. "All units, prepare for a forced entry. We're searching for another victim, possibly deceased. Proceed with caution." Officers moved across the yard toward the house, weapons drawn, flashlights cutting through the shadows as sunlight faded behind thick clouds. Lily couldn't watch. She closed her eyes and pressed her forehead into Valor's fur, her body trembling with memories scraping their way back to the surface. Her mother whispered, "You're safe now. You're safe. I promise." But Lily's voice broke. "Mom, what if they don't believe me?" The judge shook her head firmly. "We believe you. Every word." The detective beside her added, "Your testimony could save others." You're incredibly strong. Lily wiped her tears with the sleeve of her small sweater. What if Marcus comes back? What if Derek gets out? What if they find me again? Valor responded before any human could, lifting his head, pressing his forehead gently to Lily's chest, his warm breath calming her shaking breaths. The judge sighed softly. He won't leave you. None of us will. Then she added something heavier, something she hated to say, but had to. Lily, what they did was unforgivable. But you're not responsible for fixing broken adults. Lily lowered her gaze. But am I supposed to forgive them someday? The judge looked at her thoughtfully. Her mother glanced away, torn. The detective remained silent. Finally, Judge Hawthorne spoke, voice soft but steady. That choice is yours. Forgiveness isn't something you owe anyone. It isn't a rule. And you don't have to offer it to people who tried to destroy your life. What matters is healing. And that takes time. Lily breathed shakily. So, it's okay if I can't forgive them. It's more than okay. The judge whispered. It's human. Lily leaned back against the seat, whispering so softly only Valor seemed to hear. I just wanted to stop. As the officers approached the house with battering equipment, Valor lifted his head, ears pointed forward, sensing the final moment approaching. The moment the truth inside that boarded house would be forced into the light. The detective met the judge's eyes and nodded. We're going in. Do it, she said. Then a loud crack echoed through the empty street as the door splintered open. Flashlights swept the darkness inside Dot, and for a moment, the world held its breath. Whatever they found in that house, it would determine everything Lily would face next. Asterisk officers poured into the abandoned house like a coordinated tide, flashlights slicing through the dimness, boots thudding against warped floorboards, radios crackling with tense updates. From the SUV, Lily couldn't see inside, but she felt everything. Her breath hitched with each distant thump. Her fingers twisted deeper into Valor's fur. Her mother stroked her back, whispering, It's almost over, sweetheart. Almost. Judge Hawthorne, still near the open door, kept her eyes fixed on the house. She didn't blink, didn't breathe normally. She knew whatever lay inside would decide the weight Lily would carry for the rest of her life. A voice crackled over the radio suddenly. Detective, we found something. Back room. You need to see this. Lily flinched. Her mother closed her eyes. Tears gathering again. The detective nodded grimly and stepped out of the SUV, striding toward the house with tension in every line of his body. He ducked inside, disappearing into the shadows. For a long moment, the street was silent except for the wind whispering through broken shutters. Then footsteps approached, slow, heavy. The detective emerged from the doorway, his jaw clenched tight. He walked toward the judge, his expression softer than she'd ever seen it. Judge Hawthorne swallowed. Is it, the boy? The detective nodded once. Alive. Just barely. Lily gasped so sharply it made Valor bark in concern. He's alive, she whispered. The detective crouched by the SUV door, lowering his voice. Yes, sweetheart, you didn't leave him there forever. You helped us get to him. He's breathing, and the paramedics are on their way. Lily's chin wobbled. Tears spilled instantly, this time not from terror, but a release so deep it felt like her soul was unclenching. Her mother pulled her into a tight embrace. Oh, Lily, you saved him. You saved him. Valor wagged his tail softly, pressing his head under Lily's hand, nudging her to breathe, to keep anchoring herself in the present instead of the trauma still swirling behind her eyes. Judge Hawthorne let out a shaky breath. Thank God, the detective continued. He's malnourished, dehydrated, and terrified. But he's conscious. The EMTs are stabilizing him as we speak. Lily looked up, voice small and trembling. He was so scared when I saw him. I remember his eyes. He didn't move. The judge reached for her hand. He'll get help now. Because of you. Lily's tears fell faster. I didn't want him to die. She whispered into Valor's fur. I didn't want to leave him there. Her mother rocked her gently. You didn't. You're the reason he has another chance. Valor licked Lily's cheek, letting her sob, letting her lean all her weight into him. Every instinct in the dog pulsed with protection, his tail thumping once, slow and reassuring. Paramedic sirens sounded in the distance, growing louder. Officers waved them toward the house. Medics rushed past carrying stretchers and equipment. Somewhere inside, a boy who had been forgotten by everyone was finally being lifted out of the darkness. Lily peeked through the window as they emerged. A small body wrapped in blankets, a face pale and bruised, but breathing. She covered her mouth, crying harder now. Her voice cracked into the kind of relief that hurts. He's alive. He's alive. Her mother hugged her tighter. You brought the truth out of the shadows. You are so brave. Judge Hawthorne placed a hand on Lily's shoulder, steady and warm. Sweetheart, today you didn't just help yourself. You saved someone else. Not everyone can say that. Not everyone would have the courage. Lily wiped her tears, whispering, "Will he be okay?" The judge exchanged a glance with the detective. With time? Yes. With care? Yes. With kindness? Absolutely. Valor nudged Lily again, his soft rumble comforting her like a heartbeat. For the first time since this nightmare began, Lily leaned back in her seat, breath trembling, but her shoulders finally easing. The detective straightened. We'll get you both somewhere safe tonight. Protective custody, full security detail. You won't be alone. Lily nodded softly, still watching the paramedics load the boy into the ambulance. Her whisper was barely audible. I hope he wakes up and knows he wasn't forgotten. Valor rested his head on her lap, his warm eyes lifting to meet hers, as if telling her you weren't forgotten either. And for the first time, Lily believed it. The ambulance doors slammed softly, sealing the rescued boy inside with warmth and oxygen instead of darkness and fear. Red and blue lights washed over the broken White House, over the officers, over the judge, and finally over Lily's small face as she clung to Valor's fur. She wasn't shaking anymore, not the way she had before. Her breaths were still shaky, her cheeks streaked with tears. But something in her eyes had shifted. A kind of fragile strength had taken root. Judge Hawthorne exhaled slowly, watching the ambulance pull away. Lily, what you did today changed everything. Lily looked down at her hands, still tangled in Valor's thick coat. I didn't feel brave. I just didn't want him to be alone. Her mother kissed the top of her head, whispering, that's what bravery really is. Sweetheart. Valor leaned his full weight against her, making her exhale a soft, shaky laugh as she wrapped both arms around his neck. It was the first sound that wasn't fear or sobbing, just a quiet, exhausted, relieved laugh. The detective closed his radio and turned toward them. We've contacted CPS and set up full protection for the both of you. You'll be escorted to a safe location. No one else will come near you again. Lily's mother nodded, though her eyes still held a storm of heartbreak, guilt, and fierce love. Thank you. Thank you all. The judge stepped closer. Before we leave, Lily, I want you to know something important. Lily lifted her gaze. You weren't supposed to go through this, the judge said softly. You were supposed to be in school, playing, laughing, living your life. What happened was not your fault. Not even a little. Lily swallowed hard. But he said I ruined everything. The judge's expression darkened, not with anger at the child, but with the kind of anger adults feel when innocence is harmed. You didn't ruin anything. They ruined themselves. You just told the truth. Lily looked down, letting those words settle slowly into the spaces where fear had lived. A moment later, another patrol car pulled up. An officer stepped out, holding a soft blanket, a bottle of water, and a plush police dog toy. He knelt beside Lily with a small smile. This is for you, from Valor's unit. They said you're officially one of the bravest kids they've ever heard about. Lily brushed her hand over the plush dog's head. It looks like Valor. The real Valor huffed proudly, nudging her hand for attention. Lily giggled, a real laugh this time, light and small, but full of life. The officer smiled. He likes you. A lot. Lily whispered. He saved me. Valor responded by nudging his head into her chest, his tail thumping softly. Her mother pressed a hand to her heart. More than once. The detective signaled toward the second vehicle. Let's get you to a secure location. Once things settle, we'll talk about next steps. As they walked, Lily holding her mother's hand on one side and Valor's leash on the other, the street felt less heavy. The boarded house stood behind them like a ghost that no longer had power. But just before they reached the safe vehicle, Lily paused. The judge turned. Something wrong, sweetheart? Lily shook her head slowly. I just want to say goodbye to the boy. Even if he can't hear me? The judge nodded. You can. Lily looked toward the direction the ambulance had gone, her voice soft but steady. I hope you get better. I hope you find someone who loves you. And I hope you never have to be scared again. Her mother's breath caught. Lily, that's beautiful. Lily turned to Valor and bent down, pressing her forehead to his. And thank you, she whispered, for coming when I called, even when no one else heard me. Valor licked her nose, making her laugh again, for a child who had spent days trying not to cry. Laughing felt like breathing for the first time. They climbed into the protective transport vehicle. Officers closed the doors carefully, making sure everything was secured. As the car pulled away, Lily leaned against her mother, clutching the plush dog, while Valor rested his head on her lap like a silent guardian. The judge watched through the window as they left one small girl, one loyal dog, and a mother trying to piece her world back together. But now, with truth uncovered and danger locked away, their healing could finally begin. Lily whispered something as the city lights blurred past the window. Mom, do you think things will ever feel normal again? Her mother wrapped an arm around her, kissing her forehead. I think life will feel gentle again. It might take time, but yes, we'll get there together. Lily nodded softly. Okay. And outside, the world felt just a little safer than it had an hour before. Valor closed his eyes, breathing deeply, his body still pressed protectively against hers, because she wasn't alone anymore. Not in fear, not in truth, not in healing, and never again in silence.